Good day, this is Thumbs United. We are working on the Cars project. This is the Detroit North America Auto Show from 2019, this year. I took these photos in January. It was the last day it was there, and it was pretty jam-packed. Usually on the last day it's not so packed, but I think everybody kind of decided to go on the last day. For whatever reason, when I went, I was like, oh, they're going to have it for like 2 weeks. And no, it was only open to the public for 1 week. The week before, it was open to press and car reviewers, which is different from the press. My mom was part of the car reviewers, where you fill out the surveys for specific car companies, like what do you look like for this car, what do you like about this car, what don't you like about this car, why wouldn't you buy it, and you fill out all these surveys and everything, and yeah, it's not for like journalism reviews, but my mom used to do that for the car companies, but that's private, and then I come to the public show, which is the same show. It's just everyone can get in, and it's pretty cheap. It's like $15. But let's get editing. Developers. It's loading. So this car show, there was kind of a lot went wrong with the equipment. Not a lot, but the big thing that I was doing at this car show that's different than what I usually do at the car shows was I was taking photos on film, and I brought 4 rolls of 24 exposures, which is 24 pictures, and per each roll. And I brought this special flash. It's not like special, it's more like kind of, well, it's an interesting story. I went to Salvation Army, and I was like, you know what, I need a small camera bag that is just like a strap, and it's kind of like a large purse, and so I can put my stuff in and out and walk around with it to do like sports photography and all that stuff. And so I found this one bag, and it was like $2.50, and it was like leather and really nice. I was like, perfect, but I was it's kind of heavy, so I went out, bought it, and when I came home, I opened it up, which I should have done in the store, and there was all this photography equipment in it. So the $2, included the stuff that was in it, and I just didn't know that was there. So that was a nice surprise. And so there were 3 flashes and a whole bunch of lighting equipment, like little flashes, not for like the big strobes that you see in studios. And so I tried to repair all 3 of them, but I was only able to get 1 to work. And the good thing is that I got the one that I was able to get to work was one of the higher end ones, so it was like success. And so first I went to not Circuit City, Radio Shack, which doesn't exist anymore, and I got this little it's just a battery holder, but it's like you put in your AA batteries, and then you solder in the wires, and then it's just like any old device you put AA batteries in. So I did that, and that worked for a while, but then I was like, you know what, this is like bad for the environment, because camera flashes go through batteries like crazy. I had a really good flash, Canon EX 580 II, the Mark II, and it was stolen. But when I had it, I would do art photography, which is, well, it's art photography, but it was mainly I can't even say it, archival photography, where I take, archival photos of all these works of art and everything. And so I would do that job, and I'd have to go to like Costco and buy the pack of like 40 batteries, AA batteries, because the flash would use a set of 4 batteries every maybe 15 minutes of work, and I was work for hours. And so I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do that again. And so then with the flash that I fixed, I managed to kind of rewire it a little bit so you can connect it to a USB device, a USB battery. And then I took my batteries that I use for airplanes and remote control cars. And for a while I've been using those batteries for production stuff and everything, because they last so long, and they're easy to charge and everything, and they're more reliable than a lot of other batteries that are like specifically designed for production, and they're so much cheaper. But they're big batteries. And so I rigged it so I can connect it to the electric car batteries, RC cars. And so it is incredible because it recharges so fast. Flashes, the reason why you can't take flash photos really quick in a row for a long time is because to take the flash, it actually has to charge up this capacitor so it can shoot a huge amount of voltage to the light, and then it turns on, and that's what the flash is. And so you can take like 1 or 2 or 3 shots, in a row really quick, but then you have to recharge the capacitor. And so that's what that humming noise that a lot of people hear, and that's the flash recharging. And so with this new method, because it has the big RC battery, it recharges almost instantaneously. You can take like maybe you could take 3 photos a second continuously. Like, I can't get to the point where the flash needs to recharge. Like, the camera has to, when it's taking the photo, has to pause before the flash does. So that's really good. But but yeah, so I got that working, and it's worked reliably for the past couple of years. But then I went to this car show, and I was shooting with an ISO of 200, and I was using a medium format lens, 80. It's 80 millimeters with an f-stop of 2.8. So that's over 100 millimeters when it's mounted to a 35 millimeter camera. But the flash worked for the first 12 photos, so I know I got at least 12 photos on it. But then I started noticing, I was like, hey, wait a second, the flash isn't firing. And like, I didn't notice for like 5 or 6 photos. So then I was like, oh, well, I guess I can't use the flash. So I took off the flash and then switched from the medium format lens to a regular 35 millimeter lens, which was a 50 millimeter with the aperture 1.8. And I did that so that I could shoot in low light with the a low ISO. So I did that, and I only used 2 rolls of film. So there's 48 photos. 6 of which I know aren't good. I mean, maybe they are, but... And then the rest are like, it's gonna be iffy. Like, I'm sure I can rescue them in Photoshop and everything, but we shall see. And so I'm saving them for... I'm kind of trying to shoot as much film as possible, and then when I get my new job, for one thing, I'm gonna save like crazy, like 100%. Everything's gonna go into savings. But I'm gonna give myself a small allowance for film development and just start, kind of do it in chunks where I'll send, 10 roles to be developed, and then I'll edit them, and once they come back and all that. And so it's cheaper to buy film right now than it is to develop it. So that's kind of why I'm doing it. Buying a lot of film and taking a lot of film photos. And just having them wait. Because that's a long process. And I'm at the point where I would need more hard drive space, especially with medium format. Once I scan the medium format negatives, each photo is around 1.2 or 1.3 gigabytes per photo. So this lens is the 50mm 1.8, an aperture 1.8, and the photos are different. Like I said, so with this car show, what I was doing was I ran around the whole show and took pictures in VR and with a 3D camera. The VR camera does shoot in 3D as well. So I did that. Then I ran around and took pictures with film. And so these digital shots is the third time I ran around the car show. And it was hard because I was like, okay, I'm only shooting with one lens. And the 50mm, I mean, it's a good lens for portraits and outdoor photos. And it's okay if you're outdoors and shooting with cars. But it wasn't so good in the convention setting. If I was taking pictures of people in the convention setting, it would be fine. It would be very nice, in fact. Do like portraits of faces and everything. But it was too much of a long angle, too much telephoto to easily take photos of the car. Like, this car is pretty far away from me. I had to get really strategic in how I would take a photo of the car but not get people in between, because it's so telephoto, the 50mm, that I would be standing like pretty far back from the car. Like, this is across the way. There's 2 cars right here in between me and that car, and it still takes up the whole frame, which normally you'd want a little bit of a border around your subject in case you want to crop to a different ratio or anything. But But yeah, so I would stand so far away that people would think I'm not taking a photo of the car. So everyone would walk in front of me, not intentionally or anything, but if you're closer to the car with a wide angle, people kind of know, oh, you're taking a picture of this one. But with how far I had to stand to get the full car in, what I wanted, I had to stand considerably farther back. This one was funny. This guy and his girlfriend were going through the cars, and the guy was kind of like, oh, look at this car, look at this car. But then his girlfriend was like, I like this car. It's cute. And I chuckled. I was like, yes, the 911 is a cute car. And then I was like, this lady has good taste. Good taste in cars. And the images are a little noisier on this one. I was shooting at an ISO of 400. Which, looking at it, it's okay. But I should have went down to 200 or 100. And just underexposed it. Because I'm shooting at 250th of a second. And handheld I can go down to 1/10 of a second, 1/8 of a second. Which is not recommended. But there's no reason that I had to shoot at 250th of a second. So I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit right now. But in terms of lens distortion and composition, I do like what this 50mm has done. Versus what I usually use is a 28mm zoom lens that goes to 135. Shooting with a fixed telephoto lens forces you to pay more attention to composition and everything. And a lot of selected duplicates. And then the nice thing, with this photo, is the depth of field, and in all the photos are extremely flattering. And so this morning I worked on this wedding video. It was my cousin's wedding video, and it was funny because he told me the story. He's like, oh, actually his wife told me the story now, but she was like, oh, Sean recorded this wedding for his friend, and then he just gave it to them, 2 years ago, 2 years after they got married. I was like, ha ha ha, that's funny. And I was like, challenge accepted. So they got married 5 years ago, and I still haven't given them their wedding video. And so I edited the first part. The problem is there's 3 wedding videos. Now the wedding took place in 3 different places. So I finished the first one, and I finished the first one. Has 2 sections. One is this a cappella group that was there. I edited that video, and then I edited this the video with all the wedding guests and everything. So that one's done and it's rendering. And it should be done by tomorrow. And then these wedding videos are in 3D. And I'm going to send them a VR goggle so they can view it in the VR 3D headspace. We might be able to get to the 2014 Grand Prix tonight. We'll see how much energy I have. I have the let me turn the music down a little bit. I have the Oscar movie pass, and so the theater has it, so you can go pretty much every day of the week for this week and see all the movies that are up for Best Picture, are nominated for Best Picture. So I saw Vice yesterday, and then I saw Black Panther again today. I saw Black Panther when it came out, but it was nice seeing it again. It was really good. And like I'm not saying I'm anti-Marvel, but some of their movies have gotten really tiring, and they've had some big flops. Like Iron Man 1 was good, but 2 and 3 were terrible. I mean, like 2 was okay the first time you watch it, but it doesn't really hold up well. And then yeah, there were a couple other flops that had me questioning, like Thor 1 and 2 were not that great. But Ragnarok was really good. So Marvel is kind of hit or miss with me. And then like I was ready to give up on them. Like I was gonna have nothing to do with Spider-Man, and then it came out and I was like, this is actually really good. So I'm excited for Captain Marvel. Excited for Captain Marvel. The Avengers Endgame is like meh. I feel like they spoiled the whole thing. And what I mean by that is like with the advertisement, like they were already advertising, that the Spider-Man 2 movie is coming out, and it's like, well, these characters have supposedly died. You should have held off on marketing. At least give the illusion that they might not come back. So that part kind of sucks. But yeah, I'm back to liking Marvel. Lamborghinis. So I was editing those wedding videos, and I was finishing up some other stuff for Project Aerospace. It's currently I have two things rendering. Excuse me. Well, one of the things that's rendering is this quadcopter videos, and it's a process. So the quadcopter, I don't have a gimbal. I shoot on a really inexpensive drone. It was $100, and it came with a battery, the drone, and transmitter. And it can carry a GoPro. And I originally used the GoPro for taking photos with this drone. I fully intended to one day get a better drone, but then one day I was thinking, I was like, why don't I just shoot at a high frame rate and then do video that way? So I shoot at 120 frames per second, and then I have a program I wrote that kind of interpolates frames, so it adds an intermediary frame between each frame. So if, let's say if you're, it's essentially simulated slow motion. So then on top of the 120 frames per second, I run it through my program that simulates slow motion. So then it's like 240 frames per second. And so then once it goes through the program, it slows everything down to a rate of 30 frames per second. No, 60 frames per second. And so that's 4 times slow motion. It's technically, yeah, it's 4 times slow motion at 60 frames per second. And so that gives a lot of the motion is smoothed out tremendously, and everything's fluid, but the shots are like really long. It's like, okay, we're gonna fly 50 feet straight ahead of you, and that will take like 40 seconds, but it's really smooth and gentle and everything. And so I've been editing that. Well, first I have to run it through the simulated slow motion, which takes about 2 or 3 days for each project, and then I edit it. And so I just finished the last big project. There were 3 locations, and so there's it ended up being 16 20-minute videos, and so I just submitted them all to render, and we'll see in like a couple of days. Hopefully everything works out. I mean, like, I'm 90% sure all the edits are fine. It's easy because it's 2D footage, it's not 3D. But then the other UAV, the drone, has a fixed wing that I call Albie, after the waved albatross, and it's a glider airplane that has a motor, and so like you can fly really slow but carry a large amount of weight, which for what I use is for photography gear. And so I flew it I made repairs to it and upgrades, and so I flew it for the first time I think it was last Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday. And it flew incredibly. And so now I have one computer rendering the footage. It's doing the simulated slow-mo, but what takes it a lot longer is that this footage is at 4K. So it has to process, considerably more. But the good news is that the footage is only at 60 frames per second, so it doesn't have to do as much calculating as the 120 frames per second videos. But again, it's 4K, and if it was 120 frames per second, it would only be HD. So I still haven't seen that footage. It's been about 3 days, and it's 2/3 of the way done. So I'm gonna start editing that soon, and that's gonna be a lot more fun because, one, I like flying RC airplanes a little bit more than drones. Like drones they're easier, but I have more fun flying the airplane. It just feels a lot more natural. If something bad happens in the airplane, it's easier to land. There's less stuff that can go wrong with the airplane versus with a quadcopter. And like I've had some bad experiences with inexpensive quadcopters. But the quadcopter I have now, I'm very happy with, and I know it very well. So like I know what it can do, I know what it can't do. I know when it's acting up and shouldn't be flown and all that, and that's what I'm getting better at as a licensed drone operator, is I'm learning what situations to not even put myself in. Like anything above 15 mile per hour winds, just don't do it. Just cancel the shoot. Like yes, the drone can do it, and you might get some good shots, but it's not worth it. Because it puts a lot of stress on the motors and everything, and that can lead to failure. Like engine failure and all that stuff, which is not good. And so I'm keeping an eye. Like I always used to keep an eye on the weather, but now I'm getting like the aviation reports, and it's like, oh, okay, we're gonna fly sometime between 7 and 11 a.m. because the winds are gonna be 0, so that's gonna be perfect, and the sun will be rising and all that stuff. So it is a lot. It's a lot more methodical and planning heavy, and like it's difficult because it's like, okay, I have 3 days free, and then you find out that on none of those days do the winds die down or it's raining or something. So it's really hard to schedule things for Project Aerospace, but like I said, I have 16 videos of a motion series, and then I have several short films that ready to go for not ready to go. I have to animate them, but I already know what their content is, and so I have several of those, which are going to be just like flotations. It's going to be animated photography. Hey, too thick for you. Hello. Nice to see you. And yeah, so with Project Aerospace, I'm comfortable with it. I wasn't gonna launch it until like 2021, but it's doing pretty well. No, I'm just editing the photographs, and then after I finish editing the photographs, I do these kind of like animated photography series. And so some of them are documentaries and stuff. And so then I take these photographs and I animate over them, just zooming in and zooming out, and then do the voiceover with the script and everything. And so there'll be like this whole thing might be maybe 15 or 20 episodes using photography. So no, it's not. I don't draw over them, but I do a little bit of animation with the photographs. So yeah, so what I'm using now is Lightroom. And so all these photos are raw, which is a higher quality than JPEG. And so instead of loading each photo into Photoshop and editing it one at a time, Adobe has this program which is Lightroom. And it gives you all the controls of Photoshop in an easier to use way. But it also is a database program, so I have everything organized by year. Which photos are good or not. I can do 5-star ratings, start anywhere from 4 or 5 stars, and then I can do keywords and stuff. And so it's like a database with Photoshop built in, and for all the photographs. This one's a troublesome photo. The cars are so bright that I don't want to bring out that much darkness. The amount of darkness I'd have to bring out, it's not that great. Because I'm shooting at such a high ISO of 400, I can show. So like, here's the things that are in shadow. If I bring them out of shadow, the higher the ISO, everything that's dark, the camera loses sensitivity, so it comes out grainy. So that's not good. So if you shoot it dark, if you take dark photos in a high ISO, you can't really brighten them up that much without bad things happening. This is a double selected one. So we're almost done. I still have a little bit of energy left. And so I think we'll start working on the 2014 Grand Prix in Belle Isle in Detroit. Yeah, I've been having a not a problem, but I got really sick for the whole month of December. And then my doctors found out like I had no vitamin D in my system, and like everything was reacting because of that. And so then I went to 10,000 milligram, 10,000 IUs of whatever an IU is of vitamin D. And I still have to take 5,000 now, but I'm much better. But before that, I could do like 3 hours of streaming. I could easily do 4 hours, every day, twice a day. But ever since I've recovered, it's just like I can't. I'm lucky if I do an hour of streaming. I don't know what that is. Like when I end the stream, I go and a lot of times I'll be working on a different project but doing the exact same thing. So it's not like I go anywhere different. But I do get a little bit exhausted. But I'm slowly working up to get back to doing 2 or 3 hour things. And then it was hard getting back to the schedule. So this stream I'm going to try to do a little longer. We'll at least get to an hour and a half. I've been streaming for 50 minutes. So we got another 40 minutes. The Acura. This is the back end of the NSX, which is funny because it's the Acura sports car that has never officially gone into production. It's like a concept car they make in like a wink wink nudge nudge concept phase, but it's really expensive. Because it's essentially a concept car that they manufacture, so they don't make a lot of them. I mean, like with sports cars, they usually don't make a lot of them, but when they're a concept car that they sell to the public, it is extremely limited. Extremely, like maybe they'll make 300 cars and that's it for like 2 or 3 years. The Honda IndyCar. What a good way to end the 2019 car show, because we're going to Indy right now. Okay, so those are done, and let's go to the Detroit Grand Prix. Now these have been previously, wow. Okay. There's not going to be too much work we can do. They've actually been edited slightly. And so we're just trying to get them to look more like the same style as the rest of the car project. So we're just going to be editing the curves a little bit, but we don't have to do any exposure or recovery or fill light. That has all already been done. So this is from 2014. This is the Grand Prix. Whoa. Getting crazy with the curves. No, it's funny because this day is the time trials, and so the time trials were free for everyone to view, and then there was the actual race, and so you could like walk back in the garage, which is where I'm taking these photos, and everything, and the drivers and mechanics are like super friendly. And with me, I wasn't the event photographer for this event, but they really treated me like I was. They were like, "Oh, come take our photos, please. Please take my photos." So what one of them was doing, I was like, okay. Got our tires. I know I said I wasn't going to play around with the exposure, but some of them need it. I'm trying to get the highest amount of range, particularly in the dark points. Look at that tire. It looks aggressive. The treads on that one. And then we have the promotional people. I've been. Yesterday I went to see Vice, and I snuck a bag of M&Ms into the theater. There are a couple of stores I go to where you can get like a huge bag of M&Ms for like $3, and like the movie theater M&Ms are like $6, and it's a tiny box, which is the worst to open in a movie theater. I don't know why they design it that way. Or it's like a medium-sized bag. And so I usually get this bag, and it lasts me through like 3 or 4 movies. So I went to see Vice. I had the soda from the theater, and I was eating the M&Ms, and I actually finished the M&Ms through the movie. For whatever reason, I was like, these M&Ms are really good. It was like I've never tasted an M&M before in my life. And and I didn't eat the whole bag. I gave half the bag to my grandmother, and then I ate the rest of it. And so I had the soda, the M&Ms, and then when I got home, I was just like, well, no, when the movie ended, and it was funny because with the movie Vice, the point they keep coming back to is Dick Cheney's keeps having all these heart attacks. And so it was funny because at the end of the movie, I was like, I think I'm having a heart attack. But it felt like my heart was going to explode. It was just like beating so fast. And so today, I was like, okay, when I have this Oscar pass thing where I see the Oscar nominated movies. And so I'm doing that all week. And so today was Black Panther, which was nominated for Best Picture, and I was like, okay, we're gonna be scientific about this. So I went, we ate dinner, and I had soda, and I had no M&Ms, and I still felt like I was gonna have a heart attack at the end of the movie. So I was like, okay, I think it's soda, because I quit drinking soda for like 10 months, and soda has high fructose corn syrup in it, and I'm allergic to corn, so I'm allergic to the high fructose corn syrup. But before it was like I wouldn't get that big of a reaction, but now it was like it's a big reaction. Like I thought I was gonna die. But so yeah, I can't do soda anymore, which is fine because I replaced soda with iced tea, and a lot of times I would drink soda because I was kind of like, I'm not really drinking that much caffeine to stay up late, when it was like wink wink I am. But now I just, if I'm gonna pull an all-nighter, it's just like, I'm just gonna have caffeinated tea, or I'm gonna make a cup of coffee at like 5 p.m. And so I did that, and I didn't really miss the soda. But now it seems like I can't go back to soda, period. Which is fine. But it's just good to know now. Now, you know what? All this talk about staying out late, I'm getting pooped. And we have enough to edit a whole nother section, do a whole nother stream on this. So I want to thank everyone for coming out. We will continue our creative stream on Friday with the Friday creative stream. Creative Friday, that's what I call it. And so tomorrow as well is going to be Mass Effect Andromeda. We're going to continue that. And yeah, so thanks for coming by. I'll see everyone tomorrow with Mass Effect, and then a creative stream again working on the car project on Friday. And the weekend is kind of up in the air. I'll probably do a Mass Effect stream someday on the weekend and a creative stream also on the weekend. So thanks for coming by. I'll see everyone tomorrow. Bye bye.